And here's the newest piece that I'm working on, and it's called Cutter, and right now it's in the very beginning phases, so this is kind of, I'm documenting everything that I do on it, so this is the very first phase of the project, and I'm dating everything as I kind of go along so I have a time frame. And the inspiration came from an incident where I had found myself cutting my own wrists repeatedly, and I wanted to document that in art and document it for my exhibition, talking about mental illness and what it can do to you. And I'd never seen anybody really create a piece of art quite like this that's that personal, at least for me, that personal. And so there are a lot of different sources of inspiration for the piece, and I'll get into that, where the ideas are coming from and why they're coming into play. But I think it's going to be an interesting piece, and that it's going to talk about a lot of different things that symbolically and metaphorically that I haven't really done before using animals. So in a way, I think it's going to be an interesting painting. It's going to kind of unfurl as I unfurl with it. But my first idea was having the two arms, and I had somebody else model for those. Those aren't my arms. I actually had somebody else pose for those, and I liked the way their arms looked, so I just decided to incorporate them. And so I'm using other things to represent other things, which is kind of a motif of mine, using different things, different elements visually. So this is kind of where I am with this piece, and I'm hoping it works out well. I think it's going to be an interesting adventure. It's going to be a really energy intensive. I have a feeling this is going to be a long project. This was the last session I had with the painting, and it seems to have taken on a whole new meaning once I put the eagle into the painting, and that was something I had started out with from the very beginning. So a lot of different processes with this painting are a little different from my usual method of working. I started working at the opposite ends, the left and the right, then moved into the center, and then filled in the whole painting, and now it's about filling in the details and figuring out what's going to work. So it's a very different system of working for me than I've ever done before. So I'm trying different approaches to this painting and different ways of applying paint, different paint brushes. I'm using some of the techniques I used from the horse painting, but I'm using some other flat areas. So there's going to be like an orchestration of a lot of different types of paint strokes and different ways of applying paint, and really, exploiting what paint can do. So I'm looking at this from some very different points of view. The eagle is really evolving on its own. It's really, yes, it's based on an eagle, but I think it's going to become much more of a symbolic type of eagle. And I think it's going to be more reflective of moods and issues that I'm going through or that I'm experiencing, and then translating that into something that's doable. But I'm really happy with the painting. I really feel like it's reaching a whole new level of depth and a whole new dynamic approach, because I feel like the other painting was about motion, and this one is too. But I think it's like an outgrowth of the other one. I like to think that each painting is in some way a step forward. And what's really interesting about this painting is I'm not even listening to the same music I listen to. I spent a lot of time listening to Miles Davis and a lot of jazz while I was working on this, and I think that had an effect on my approach to the painting, and using these different types of brushstrokes and different techniques in different areas. So I think you're going to see some real development with this painting, and I'm really excited about working on it, because it became quite a bit more than what I thought it was going to be. Because you start ideas and you're never really sure what they're going to turn into until you put them on the canvas. And so this one I'm really excited about. After a long period of not painting, it's really nice to be back into it and to have a different way of looking at paint, a different way of looking at color, a different way of doing things. So we're going to watch this as it evolves. Okay, this is the first time I've painted under duress, but I had to chronicle where I was. So this was the last couple of steps I did, and I'm going to attempt to paint in the middle of an interesting episode. So we'll see how all of this comes together, but I just felt compelled to paint today, so I'm going to paint, and whatever happens, happens. So we'll see what the outcome is. Okay, here's where we are, the 20th, I believe, of February. So I added a couple of things, so we're kind of in the home stretch right now. So I'll be working on more of it, hopefully, but I wanted to chronicle where I was.